This is not the most popular principle. Warning, this is not the most popular principle, but it's humongous. Give money back to God and to the poor, and you will be blessed. Give money back to God and to the poor, and you will be blessed. What this means is to tithe to God joyfully and receive his promised blessing in return. Tithing means giving about 10% of your income to honor God. And I know some people get into these huge raging debates over should it be exactly 10%? What about 9%? What about 12%? What is it on your net income or your gross income? I don't really care. I'm just saying that, do you have a heart that wants to give approximately 10% of your income to God? Is that your heart? This is biblical, and it comes with a huge promise. One of those if-then promises. Malachi 3:10. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that you will not have room enough for it. Whew! Don't you like that promise? Okay. I have lived this way. I have done a lot of things wrong. Some of you have heard some of my wrongness. Is that a word? Wrongdoing, that would be a better word. Good, thank you. So I know, I think you know that I have not always been without sin in my life. But one thing I've done right is, ever since I became a believer, way back, like 40 years ago, I decided to tithe. I was like, Lord, I saw this promise. Someone had pointed out to me very early in my walk, and I'm like, okay, God said to do this. He said there'd be blessing, and so I just decided to do it. So I started doing this before I got married for the first time, like way back when I was like 21 years old. I started tithing in college. I tithe every single month. There has never been a month in my entire life, in like 40 years, that I have not tithed. There were times that it was impossible. Especially when we started this new ministry. Both Raul and I quit our jobs, and both of us starting an independent ministry at the same time. Do you think there was any money? There was no money. We were doing like all sorts of shenanigans trying to like pay bills. We were like getting home equity loans and doing all sorts of really crazy things, but it's like, well, we feel God called us to do this, we're gonna tithe. And we're gonna tithe. And so we did. And I have to say, God never, ever let us go without. We always had food, we always had shelter, and God provided in the most crazy, spectacular ways. When I first started tithing, because I think, Satan likes to go, well, I'm going to just see what I can do to mess this up. So I was just about ready to get married, and I had bought a washer and dryer, an old one, and they both broke on the same day. And I was like, oh, and I had no money. Every penny had gone into this little house that cost $39,000. When did a house cost $39,000? But anyway, and so I had no money to get a new washer and dryer. And now to me, okay, I know this kind of sounds silly to everyone else, but to me this was like the end of the world. Like, laundromat? I do not do that. And so it didn't even occur to me that there was a solution to go to the laundromat. I just have to have a washer and dryer. Oh my goodness sakes. And so I was like, Lord, you said that if I tithe, there is going to be plenty. So I'm just like, waiting for it. The next day, I get an unexpected check in the mail from my grandmother saying, I was thinking of you, and here is $5,000. And I'm like, okay, I like this tithing thing so very much, right? I mean, I don't know what to say. And that was a lot of money. That bought some other things too, but that's a whole other story. I probably should have saved some of that money, but anyway, I'm just saying, like, it built my faith. And I'm telling you, I know some of you are like, I just can't tithe. There is no possible way I can tithe. We don't have the money. I'm saying it's more risky for you not to tithe than to tithe, because God pours out his blessing. Do you believe the Bible or not? Because this is the promise he says in his word, that he will open up the floodgates, that there will be blessing. And the verse right after it that I didn't put on the screen, and it will vary in your different translations, but it actually goes on to say, and that he will rebuke the enemy on your behalf. So I'm kind of liking that part too. Like, you know what? I would like you to open up the floodgates of blessing and rebuke the enemy on my behalf too. Wouldn't you all like some of that? And it starts from and it's not like God needs your money. He's like, oh, I'm so impoverished here in heaven. I hope they give me a little something today. No, it's not that. It's like an obedience issue. Are you willing to put God before money? Are you willing? It's a heart posture. God's saying, come on, I have such blessing for you, but you got to take a little bitty step of faith here. It's an obedience issue and a faith issue. Will you do it? I think it's riskier not to do it than to do it. Okay, this is like a huge point, so I don't want anyone to, is everyone paying attention? This is a huge point. Don't overindulge in luxuries and pleasures because they lead to poverty. So agree with your spouse to live below your means. This alone will eliminate so much financial stress and anxiety. Proverbs 21 says, he who loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and oil will never be rich. And this is a huge problem in our society. Hardly anyone lives below their means. No. Almost all people live above their means. Do you know what I mean by that? Like you get a pay raise and you immediately decide how you can spend it. Sound familiar to anybody? You know, you have a little extra income. Oh, good, now we can finally get that. And we're always living up to the max and there's no cushion. And some of you say, well, I have a little cushion. We put, you know, like $100 in savings, but then something $100 is used and now you're right at the max again, and then the next shoe drops, some other little unexpected thing, a dental bill or whatever, and it's like, oh, now we don't have enough money. And now what happens? The financial anxiety just starts creeping up and just grips you, right? Does this sound familiar? I know that it does, right? That we live right up to the very edge of what we can possibly afford, or we even go over and put it on the credit card, right? And then the financial stress is consuming, right? But what if you intentionally live below your means, below what you can possibly afford? Now something happens and it's like not a catastrophe. There's cushion.